在我们回顾过去成就的同时，我们也必须认识到我们的影响力所带来的责任。我们的设计塑造了人们体验世界的方式。那这种力量相伴的是，我们有义务在所有工作中考虑到可持续、包容性跟社会影响力等。为此，我们邀请了4位专家，针对未来设计跟未来设计教育进行探讨，来分享他们的见解、经验和对未来的展望。在我们准备下一场论坛节目的同时，请容我介绍4位与会的贵宾。首先，我要介绍的是论坛的主持人王志仁先生。王志仁先生是台湾数位时代总编辑和同名 Podcast 的节目主持人。王先生过去持续关注科技创新、管理和竞争，从早期的半导体、个人电脑、行动通讯、网际网络、软体，到目前的人工智慧以及电动车等行业，将近30年，曾多次进行国际深度的报道，涵盖矽谷、以色列、芬兰、新加坡和韩国。王总编辑从2003到2020年期间移居上海工作，他先后在当地创办了3本财经和设计类杂志，并跨足文创投资项目，曾经担任外滩5号总经理。过去著有《天下》杂志出版的《前进未来空间》、台湾网际网络使用报告，还有远流出版社的原来中国是这样子。译作有远流出版社的科技顽童沃兹尼克，2022年底出版《从荒漠到雨林：新岛之岛的关键10年》。第一位语坛嘉宾是佘日新先生。佘日新先生现任逢甲大学跨领域设计学院院长、大学设计社会责任中心执行长、台湾智慧制造创新营运中心主任，以及彼得·杜拉克研究中心主任。佘院长具有工业设计背景，其后跨领域到管理研究。他是英国华威大学商学院行销暨策略管理博士，主要的专长是科技管理与行销、智慧财产权、策略管理、国际企业管理以及文化倡议产业经营。佘院长的经历不胜枚举，他拥有完整的产官学历经历，长期关注全球经济趋势、产业发展以及企业创新研发活动，经常于报章杂志及广播媒体发表产业评析，引领前瞻思维，可谓台湾跨领域难得的杰出人才。第二位语坛嘉宾是陈禧冠先生。陈禧冠目前担任仁宝电脑工业股份有限公司集团创意中心设计长，也是资深副总经理。他是台湾设计界重量级的人物。1995年从美国 Cranbrook Academy of Art 取得 MFA 的学位，在其辉煌职场生涯中，他大部分的时间任职于国际知名的企业，其中包含 Philip Design 以及 G-Fish 大中华区，担任执行与设计总监的重任。目前他任职于仁宝电脑集团创新中心，带领着350多位的设计师、研发精英。他负责公司的科技蓝图与创新设计策略的布局。其并于2015年到2019年代表台湾当选 ICSID， 也是现在的 WDO 世界设计组织的理事。同时出任台北世界设计之都 WDO 的国际顾问。他曾经担任9次德国 IF Design Award 的评审、Singapore Good Design Award 经典设计奖以及台北设计奖评审召集人等要职。目前也贡献于台湾的教育界，为实践大学设计系兼任的副教授，同时也是澳洲 Good Design Award 设计大使以及 WDO 的 Regional Advisor。第3位语坛的嘉宾是 Dr. Spitz， 那我们刚刚已经介绍过了。现在让我们以热烈的掌声欢迎4位嘉宾上台参与论坛。谢谢 ，Dr. Spitz。
谢谢李建国总经理的介绍。那建国兄也在过去多年来一直在设计方面给我很多的一些启发和支持哦。那非常谢谢他们的邀请，能够来参加今天 IF 70周年的活动。Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and our panelists, good morning. It's a privilege to be here hosting this panel discussion. And first, I'd like to congratulate IF for the 70th anniversary. And this panel discussion is going to be in full English. So. And like Dr. Spitz suggested in his presentation, design should be simple. And I think discussion should be simple as well in English. So make sure everybody can get the point. And I have 4 questions that I'd like to explore further with our panelists regarding the future design and design education. So since we only got 1 hour, pretty limited time, so I'd like to move forward fast. The first question is about the AI and design, and I'm sure all of you, including myself, are very much aware of the impact brought by the generative AI this year. And it's a pretty amazing statistics that within 2 months, there has been more than 100 million users that registered to use a ChatGPT. And it's not only ChatGPT, but also like Midjourney, like Stable Diffusion, like there are other types of applications together with the generative AI. So I think from the design perspective, what is the relationship between AI and design, and what is some kind of possible application or some possible thinking that can be brought by generative AI to design? So that will be the first question. I'll start with Professor from my left-hand side. So.
Okay, Mr. Wang and panelists and all distinguished guests, I think I purposely dressed down. I wear a jacket with a logo Turing on it.
I think that should be the dress code today. I think me and Professor Spitz, we are kind of overdressed. So.
I think not only generative AI will dramatically or revolutionarily change our lives. Actually, I'm doing some projects with AIA, which is a local AI foundation, with machinery companies this year. We try to do a lot, try to introduce a lot of modeling, I should say machine learning models, which is a very, how would say, far away from design, what we thought. But like Sean just mentioned, I used to be a design student, and then I turned to business school. When I teach strategic management, there's always a very fundamental idea about strategy called SCP paradigm: structure, conduct, and the performance. As long as we want to achieve the performance we are intended to do, we have to understand the structure, and then we have to refine our daily operation, daily life. So I think that's the major source of my journey from a designer to a business professor. The most contribution to my life, I would say, is those 6 years when I was a design student, because I know the structure. And so that's the reason why I can build from that foundation and to fan them into different areas and integrate all those ingredients to deliver results. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Shi. So pardon me for not giving each of our panelists some time to briefly introduce themselves. So thank you for doing that job. Before we start that question, AI and design, so I'd like to have the rest two also introduce briefly about yourself to the audience. Professor Spitz.
Thank you, yes. To me, there's no doubt that artificial intelligence has a huge impact in the dramatical transformation of the design practice and design education as well. And it will be, or it is, one digital tool among others. I mean, Photoshop has lots of artificial intelligence already implemented for years. It will have a strong impact if it comes to the production, to the realization. It will not help if it comes to imagination, something new, because it can only replicate what is inside. So if it's about replication and production, it will help, and it will change dramatically because the economic income for a lot of people will vanish. Yes, that's part of digitization. Everything that can be digitized will be digitized, and it will become economical worthless. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Professor Spitz. And so I should address as Chief Designer Officer Chen. So CDO Chen.
Thank you. I think this is a closed-door discussion, so I want to be very bold and
Please, yeah.
because there's no Ministry of Education or any governor here, so I want to make it a little bit, let's say, discussion for discussion's sake. Because I'm a designer myself, and I teach as part-time for 30 years already, and I'm in the front end of AI because I work in a computer company. So if I may, and in very black and white, please be careful and dangerous with my dangerous answers. I think the AI definitely is going to heavily influence the design education, and not just the design education. I think the entire human race. And I think if we see our talent as a pyramid, the top talent designers for the next decade, you probably don't have to worry. For the bottom part of the talent, you don't have to worry, because you know they will change to other competencies. They know themselves that they are not designers, they just want a degree, and they will change. What we are worried is the big, massive middle part of the talent that will be replaced by AI. And these people, once they graduate and landed on the industry, it will be a big social problem, because they will have they cannot contribute a lot of values. And I'm saying this because I'm interviewing almost 100 people a day. I'm not exaggerating. And I cannot find the right talent that I wanted. So I'm questioning. I know there's a lot of teachers here, so again, sorry for my bold answer. I'm questioning all the education facilities and universities across the globe, not just Taiwan. Did you ever hire consultant company like McKinsey or Gartner or IDC? They will help you to research what's happening in the field, what's happening to the rapid changing industry, and then fine-tune your curriculum. Because if you don't have a marketing PR to sell about your university, and all university, if they all taste the same like plain soda, I cannot tell Pepsi from Coke, then you're doomed. I'm sorry. You'll be merged or you'll go bankrupt, because designers in the future, they needed to know which school would I choose, because the industry is going for that direction. And if you don't have that colorful tinted curriculum, you'll be suffering. And I address this from educational point of view, because today's topic is about education and design. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, CDO Chen. If we approach this question from two perspectives, one is AI for design, the other is design for AI. And obviously that design for AI, I think the interface of like ChatGPT, Midjourney, DALL-E 2, or Stable Diffusion, the interface is much more intuitive. And the entry barrier for use is much lower, so the general public can get to use this by just key in a few prompts and get the results, as opposed to in the past only a very specific groups like experts on big data or on use Python to write the code can use AI, but now it's general public as opposed to specific experts. So from that kind of design for AI and also AI for design, more people can become, I would not say designer, but at least they use Stable Diffusion Midjourney. They can generate the pictures. So if it's not professional designer, but at least some amateur designer could, we can expect there will be more and more. So AI for design, design for AI, what is going to be the next step for these two? Chen, CDO Chen would like to address this first.
This is a PhD question. I think AI is a tool. And what I feel recently, this is, I would consider as the starting of an era, very, very first year. I mean, those people have been working for a few years already before they come up with the ChatGPT, and then it's already 3.0, and now it's 4.0. But all these people, they have been working for years already, and suddenly even ChatGPT team does not know that they will create such a big splash in the market. So right now, everybody flourish, and then we come up with all these softwares for this. I would like to address that AI is only a tool as well as design. I heard a lot of discussions about design as an industry, where are we going, and if AI is going to replace us. I mean, so be it if it's going to replace us, because then we have better things to do. I was joking the other day with my friends that if AI is going to replace us, then what can human beings do? I mean, let them earn all the money for us and we just go to a cafe for coffee, why not? So as long as we can find a proposition for ourselves, I think that's fine. But for AI, I think it's a tool because it's only an aggregator. And what it aggregates is the data, big data from the cloud. And to be honest, and you know all of this, 60% of the cloud data, it's probably true, 40% are manipulated. So whatever ChatGPT or BART or whatever you're using, it's GIGO. It's garbage in, garbage out. So if you rely on that to do your thesis and do your research and do your design, be sure that you have the thick knowledge in your thinking cap to filter those knowledge. Because these are the knowledge that in the future, a decade from now, we cannot tell truth from false. There will be, just to make it short.
Thank you. And Professor Spitz, when more and more people possess the design capabilities through the use of AI, so what's going to be the next step?
Yeah, thank you. I think you mentioned the right, or you draw the right image. It's about right now what we see when we think of AI, generating, producing images in an extremely short period of time, 20, 30 seconds. An image in a quality you needed, up to now, you needed an expert, and this expert needed days. And this is what you had to pay. You had to pay for the time and for the knowledge. This has vanished. So this is the middle part of the jobs in design industry, which is now vanishing. Totally agree. What I would like to draw the focus on is all these guys, all these people are trained in specific design methods, capabilities. You mentioned critical thinking. Of course, it's about decision making, what the computer, what AI is presenting to me. Is this true or false? Is this fake or does it make sense? Because AI can't make a difference, just presenting something. And this is the core competence, decision making, based on our capability of making judgments, critical thinking. So there's so much to do in society for a better future when these designers don't focus on old problems, old topics, old assignments, but new, what really needs our attention, sustainability, anything related to this, there's a lot to do. I don't worry. So let ChatGPT and let Photoshop and so on, let them produce the images we already know, which are worthless. There's no progress in there. But solving the real problems we are facing now, this is what could liberate us, make us free from the burden and focus on this one.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Spitz and Professor.
May I share 2 slides? Sure. Yeah, please put up my slides. No, skip this one. First of all, I want to share with you the structure. Again, back to my previous addressing. In 2012, Germany launched an initiative called Industry 4.0. The first time we witnessed so-called cyber-physical system. When I was a design student, I just concerned about the physical. But later on, probably another field students in information engineering, they take care about the data stuff. But now we have to do all together. So you can see the cyber-physical, you have to turn the analog world into digital world. What we have is IoT. 帮我按一个一个一个，把它全部按出来好了啊。Yeah. Okay. We work through the Internet of Things, and then we can collect a lot of data, and then we have big data, and then we put up somewhere in the cloud service provider and in Renbao, and then you have 3 elements for AI. The first one, you need very strong computing power, and then you need very strong algorithm, and then you also need very in-depth domain know-how. Otherwise, if you skip one of those 3 elements, you won't get any intelligence, no matter it's human intelligence or artificial intelligence. And then you bring those intelligence to help you to make decisions in your daily life. This is what I have, and now you got AR, VR, and you got the metaverse, and you can see the cyber-physical system had been realized in our world. Probably the question is all about generative AI, but AI is transforming our daily life in a quite unimaginable way. Okay, next slide, please. So I would suggest that for the future design education, we need to transform curation to creation. I think if you want to get really decent results from ChatGPT, what you need is prompt engineering. You have to ask the right question, and then probably the algorithm will dig out something for you from the World Wide Web and help you to facilitate your work. But that's only the starting point, like Shiguan said. It's tool. It's not a purpose. You need to understand what is your purpose. What is the ESG challenge now? What is the SDGs challenge now? So I put up these 2 slides for your reference, and don't panic about AI. You have to know how to surf AI tsunami.
Usually people over 50 panic. People under 30 that are pretty aggressive and pretty optimistic about the development of AI. And you three all touch upon the purpose of AI is that not actually how many or how good the results you generate, but it's about how it makes you, helps you make decision, especially business decision. I think that's a key point. And you also touch upon the design education, because when most people possess some certain degree of design capabilities, what would be for designer or for design education to be in the future? So that leads to my next question about the future of design education. And Professor Spitz, you have talked some of this in your earlier presentation. Also, you mentioned that designing design education is a major task in this big part. So would you elaborate more on that, about the future? In your mind, what's the future of design education?
Well, obviously, this is a nice next step. Obviously, artificial intelligence is right now the disruptive power for design education system. I have no doubt about this. What I see is that it accelerates the process of transformation. What I see is that some or most of the insights we gathered in the last years now became really clear and obvious. When we were talking 2 years ago about these insights, most people said, "Oh, might be, but," and then there were a lot of reasons. Now we see people are nodding and saying, "Yes, this is obvious because of artificial intelligence." So it's not about skills anymore. Design education is not about skills. But in order to make the better decision, we need to be skillful. Otherwise, we can't make the decision because the context is missing. We don't know the framework for our decision making. So this is a dilemma. Design education can't be about training skills, but it needs already skillful students. But from our insight, most part of design education should be about what we called personal growth, personal development topics, because this is what can't be replicated by the machine. And this is about creation. This is not what the machine can do. It can only replicate what has been put from someone else. And in order to educate this in the design context, we need to find a solution for the question, how do we train the young people with all these skills which are needed but which can't be part of the design education anymore, because there's no time for this anymore. Otherwise, design education's program would be 6 or 8 years. Nobody has this time. Or it should be starting at the age of 12. This is nice, yeah. Starting in the school, yeah.
I see. So the skills, maybe they can get self-taught through AI, but they can learn more about human-centric thinking, that kind of process. Okay. So also for Professor Sir, you mentioned earlier that it's about from curation to creation. So regarding the future of design education, would you elaborate more on that?
Like you just mentioned, that reminds me about 10 years ago, I went to Tokyo for Fujitsu Forum. The chairman of the company, probably the largest computing company in Japan, he mentioned about the human-centric innovation. So I'm really grateful about Professor Spitz talked about the human side. That's very important. And I have to encourage, if you are design students in our audience, actually everybody is crazy about design now. So design for all or all for design. I've been with the Ministry of Education for the design thinking education now. And we also strengthen our hands into high school students. We help, we have new framework for 108课纲 for education processes. Actually, students in elementary schools, in high schools, they are quite competent with design thinking now. So what we have at the very first is empathy. So again, we have to start from the end. What's the purpose for AI? It's not for the tool, for the technique, for the very powerful computing power. That's not the goal. With this, we can have a brighter future. That's what we have.
Okay, so you have to think not only what your client wants, but you have to think, as a client himself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So next question for CDO Chen. So, as a chief designer officer, I think from time to time you recruit young graduates from design school. So, what kind of education do you expect they get when they're in university, design college, and also when they come on board, as a rookie designer? So, and what kind of training would you give to them, when they are doing their job?
That's a good question. So here's the thing. The industry is the market. The factory is the school. And the product is the student. Now the gap is that the industry, the market, is rapidly changing directions in every 1 to 2 years. It used to be 3 to 5 years. Now it's like counting by years, if not by months. But the factory production line, who is producing the product, which is the students, they are being refined, counting on the decade base, honestly, because of the curriculum, because of the quality of the tutors and teachers, all these things. I'm not blaming anybody or finger pointing, I'm pointing out a fact. So here's the thing. We produce all these products and they enter the market and they realize the market has changed. And so these students, they have to learn again in the market for another 5 to 10 years because they become guru, before they become Yoda. And honestly, this is not carbon footprint friendly. So this is my 2 cents that I would suggest to all universities, again being very black and white. There are 360 degrees of design. Not all designers have to be styling gurus like Philip Stark. There are people that are interested in people research, color material finishing, marketing, channels, and all these things. So why not, in your 4 years university courses, finish all your basic foundation curriculums in the first 2 years, and then identify all the characteristics of every talent, of every student, what's their interest. The fundamental issue of the Oriental education versus the Western is that we always try to pick up the weakness of the talent and try to fix everything. So in the end, they are good at everything but not great at anything. Instead, I think this is what we should do, is that we should find their strength. Forget about weakness. Everybody has weakness. Even president has weakness. Find their strength and amplify it. And find their interest and amplify it. So for the 3rd year and 4th year, every designers can go their direction. They could be studying people. They could be studying social or psychologists or whatever. And not just making 3D models and everybody has to present a product design at a degree show. So at the end of the graduation, when you enter the market, you know that you are good at people research, you go to a marketing team. You know you are good at styling, using AI tools, you go to a product design firm. And so that's my quick 2 cents to all the universities.
Please.
May I add maybe, when you say that after graduation, students must adapt to reality and learn again. This is what education should be about, learn to learn. Learn to deal with uncertainties, being aware that when I'm graduated, I haven't learned everything that I need, but it's an endless process. And the next step, the first step at the company which will hire me will be the first day of relearning. So learn to learn. This is important. Second, what you said, discover your strengths. This is, again, a topic of personal development. This would be wonderful if design educational system would support the students in discovering their strengths, learning about themselves. Right now, design education is about something else. So, I totally agree.
Yeah, please.
I want to add up something here from a different perspective. I don't think this is the only agony for design faculty and students. It's for everybody now. Even in business school, professors don't know how to teach their students to meet the fast-changing world. So if we teach again from the textbook, you're out of date at the moment because the textbook was written like 5 years, 10 years ago, even though there are some disciplines underneath all these new developments. Those won't change very fast. But for what you need, especially skill-wise, you need to adapt to the changing world. So we have to redesign all curriculums, not only for design schools. So I would recommend you guys to develop your own agenda, especially for design students. 10 years ago, Stanford University launched a program called Stanford 2025 because it's a top-notch university in the world. If they don't know how to teach students, then the rest of the world, the university won't know how to teach students. So they came out 4 categories, like open loop, like past education. If you can learn faster than your classmates, then just go ahead. You spend a lot of time out of your classroom and develop your own interests and fend them into those areas, probably uncertain, but accumulate as your own capacity and competence to meet the future challenges.
Okay, thank you, three. And not just the purpose of is not just to fix a weakness, but also to amplify the strength. Learn how to learn, and through continuous learning. So it may not be just a certain teachers when you're at school, because you probably will go back to school many times to learn from other new teachers as well. And also, we need to learn from the best. So I'm not sure if I can conclude that from here, a short conclusion that it's not a designer working alone. It should be like teamwork or collaboration, because Philip Stark himself, it doesn't fix all the problem. There's a team behind him. They work together. So I think young designer, especially young graduates from design school, they need to learn how to work with other people as well. Learn from their peers as well. So that's also an important skill outside of school, or whether they're in school, that should be taught, and as a capability that he or she should possess to, when they go on board to work. Okay. So that leads to my next question, that because learning is continuous, not just 4 years or 6 years training in school, so it should be like sustainable learning. And when we talk about sustainability, it's a concept that not only for learning, but also for design as well, because ESG has become a buzzword over the past 3 years. And I think that buzzword is going to go on for some time, for maybe next 3 to 5 years as well. So when it comes to sustainability, how should design approach this topic, in your opinion? So I'd like to start this with Professor Spitz.
Thank you. This is an important question, and at the same time, it's a little bit misleading, because from my understanding, design has always tried to be sustainable if we take the different categories, the different facets of what is meant with sustainability. And if we look at strong movements in design history which tried to develop design, they always said the same. It's about integrating all relevant aspects. And these are from the beginning, from arts and crafts 150 years ago. It's about the environment, because industrial pollution was nothing new, but London 1820, nobody wanted to live there because of industrial pollution. So environmental topics, social topics, societal topics, personal topics, the joy of use, so there are aesthetics, of course, and so on, replaceable, all repairable. All of these elements have always been part of design movements, and suddenly some strong marketing managers isolated specific elements and enlarged them so that some of the other got lost. So I would say this is nothing new to design. Sustainability is a design core topic, and you could say if it's not sustainable, it's not design, but something else.
Okay, thank you. And Professor, or Professor?
Okay, I go first. I think we have to put the sustainable design in a greater context. If we don't understand, I think like probably 10 years ago, a Harvard professor who used to be the Secretary of Labor in the U.S., Robert Reich, who wrote a book called Saving Capitalism. Capitalism itself cannot be sustainable now, because we see, even though nowadays in our marketplace we call a lot of attention toward DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. However, we can see the divide is getting greater and greater. So we are witnessing a challenges that we have never witnessed before. So capitalism itself is pretty much endangered. Now, and then WEF launched an initiative called Stakeholder Initiative, the stakeholder capitalism. So when we make progress in our economic side, we have also taken into consideration all kinds of, including the environmental issues and social issues. So I think, again, that's human-centric.
Yeah, and CDO Chen, because ESG is not only a concept, but becomes quite a regulatory for companies when ship products, not only domestic but also overseas. They need to meet some certain sort of compliance, like 10 years or 20 years from now, it will go like 100% carbon neutral. So when I think design plays a very important role in making those products, because you need to have some ideas or concepts pre-installed in the product, so we can make sure you meet the requirement of 100% carbon neutral. So how would you approach the topic sustainability and design when do the product design in the company?
It has becoming a must now. You're right, it's a buzzword. And there are tons of regulations, especially from Europe, on these ESGs. But I think the danger of having designers to only have a stereotype image of what this means is very dangerous. For example, we have very long debating a gasoline car versus a EV car. I mean, you probably need 3 decades to really find out which one is more environmental friendly. 10 years from now, we will have trillions of tons of battery to take care of, global-wise, of all these EV cars. So, and then there's also this famous discussion about plastic and paper, and now people start to realize maybe it's not that environmental friendly to only just produce paper and not plastic. So, you need to look, if you have a longer time span to study the result, then you will find the truth. But the thing is, we don't have that time. I mean, we probably need half a century to find out that, oh, we are wrong. Half a century ago, we make this decision, now we are wrong. Luckily, we have AI. And now, if we put in all the data, how you run your country, how you run a society, how you run this ecosystem, it will at least do I would say at this moment, 70% accuracy in terms of stimulation about how this so-called ESG solution will end up a decade from now. It's like vaccine. Now we don't need to take 20 years to come up with vaccine. 1 year, because they do it all in supercomputers to calculate the result. So there are tools that we can use to see if the ESG stereotype image that we think is really carbon neutral. And by the way, there's no such thing as carbon neutral, because the most you can do is 70% reduction, and then 30% you have to buy carbon offset. That's just, you have people in the factory, they are carbon footprint consumption. So that's my first answer.
Okay, and also regarding, okay, please.
Sorry, I want to come back to teamwork. I think designer alone won't do the work. So we have to collaborate with many disciplines. Probably material science is the very beginning of our collaboration target. Otherwise, we won't be able to reach the sustainable goal.
And also a follow-up question for Professor Spitz, because you mentioned that design is supposed to be sustainable in the very first place. I totally agree, but what would you respond to the concept of fast fashion? Because products, they are not meant to be kind of sustainable, because it encourages consumers to go to buy all these products, and like every 6 months, every 12 months, you better just replace all of them and clean up all your wardrobes and buy new products. So that's the idea of stimulate consumers to keep buying and buying. So, because I remember you mentioned the meaning of consumption, also the consumption of meaning in your earlier presentation. So how would you respond to the fast fashion concept regarding the sustainability and design?
Well, I would say that each product which has been produced in the context of a fast fashion industry shouldn't be regarded as design or good design. Good or bad design is maybe a little bit complicated. Maybe we should get rid of these stereotypes, but should regard a product as a design product if it takes into consideration all relevant aspects. And of course, fast fashion industry isolates very few aspects, and these aspects dominate the rest. And in its economics and aesthetics and sustainable or economic and ecological aspects and societal aspects are not regarded. So I would say this is a topic, an issue of the term design, which became so popular And now a lot of products and a lot of phenomena are covered with this topic of design, which is not helpful for the design.
Okay, so Mr. Chen or Professor Shi would like to address this from the design point of view, how to respond to the fast fashion rising so powerfully.
Okay, I'm going to use this example, not necessarily fast fashion, but it's related. The Swiss watch industry. So if you look at the production of Patek Philippe, they produce only some 30,000 to 50,000
Very
watches.
selected items.
Yes,
Yeah.
and very expensive and only in niche market. And then
You have Swatch.
yeah, yeah, how do you call it? AP watch. So they produce like 60,000. But if you look at Rolex, which is considered the most luxurious brand, not as luxurious as the two brands that I just mentioned, they have 1 million watches in the market every year. But what happens is that there's a longer waiting list for Rolex than any of the watches in the world. If you want to wait for a Daytona, you have to wait for 20 years since the day you registered. So here's the thing. I feel that it's not the problem of fast consumption. I don't want to get offense of any fashion designers. I think it's the recycle and the reuse. If all this, whatever fashion that you buy and you think it's obsolete already, somebody else can get use of it, and there's a good ecosystem that can get use of it, and the brand should be in charge of recycling and reusing this. This is what Rolex do. So they make their second-hand value so high that people are waiting in lines for their first product. And so this is a good methodology if we want to go for a very efficient, effectiveness fast fashion industry.
Yep.
Maybe
Please.
One second thought to this argument. In nature, there's no garbage. There's no throwaway in nature. Everything is used from someone else. And if our production of goods, of products, of objects would follow this principle, so it's not only recycling, reusing, something else, but it's this thinking in circles without any garbage, without any waste, without any throwaway. This would be a huge progress. And to me, this is not a question of how can we do this, how can we produce this, so not a technical problem. This is a topic of the mindset of the consumer.
Thank you, Professor. And
I think that your question is not only about fast food, fast fashion, but just remind me about McDonald's. In 1980, there was a book written by a professor from University of Maryland called The McDonaldization, which means a franchised food chain totally revolutionized the way people eat. You know, now the McDonald's has been redesigned their logo into a green, not go get, a green gate. So if the logo carry on such a meaning of going green, then all its processes, all its maybe they're from a farm to table to whatever, they have to go green. So also I recommend audience to watch a documentary last year, at the end of the last year, by economists. They got 4 episodes. Along them, one is about fast fashion. A lot of reflection on this because the fashion industry is the second largest pollution industry in the world. So they have to they have to regret about what they've been doing, not electronics, fashion. So I think a lot of revolutionized materials, also consumption mindset have been changed.
And even electronic components are now being recycled and reused to some certain degree because they can gain some kind of carbon credit as well. So I think whether electronic industry or fashion industry are also part of this sustainability movement to kind of recycle and reuse. So that also leads to my final question about design for impact, because this is also, again, a PhD question, pretty broad, but we only have like 6 minutes to cover this. So I think, whatever change it may be for design and designer is also not only to just finish the project and come up with a product, but also try to kind of create some impact through this design and through this product. So in the coming future that we have already discussed about the impact from AI, the impact from sustainability, the impact from the continuous design education, so on and so forth. What is going to be the new meaning or the new purpose for impact for designer? So in your opinion, so which panelists would like to address this first?
I can start. So I think design for impact from IF point of view, focusing very much a lot, correct me if I'm wrong, on helping third worlds or less fortunate communities or people with disables, so design for this. The only thing, I think these are all great. I mean, we should all do this kind of design to help a better world. The thing is, and again, just for discussion sake and very black and white, do not do this project as philanthropy, because philanthropy does not work. I have seen during these decades, at least 3 decades in my career, I've seen like people or students or project teams come up with great ideas that can help, let's say, the third world, people in Africa have a better drinking water quality for water, and they knock on the door of the mega companies asking for donation and money to complete the project. Yes, they will get the money for 1 or 2 years. And we know, and within this close environment, I can say this, big enterprise do philanthropy for a few reasons. A, brand image. Second, tax saving. And 3, you have the privilege to do government projects because you do good to these projects. So this is the thing. When the market goes down and they no longer make money and the margin dies, they will stop the philanthropy. And the whole system, which we started as a heartfelt mission, will die. So my humble opinion is always do this kind of great projects as an economy. And people might say, oh, you're always thinking about, you business people thinking about money. Of course, because that's what makes things circulate for a very long time. If you can make all local communities, all local partners, all local people earn a little bit of margin because of this great idea that can come up with a machine that can make your rainwater into drinkable water, and every party earns a little bit margin so that their life is better, that is way better than philanthropy, because it's going to go for decades, because everybody's going to make money. And if people see that you have a great money-making solution, I want to come up with a better innovation idea than yours, then this economy will flourish. So that's my 2 cents.
So thank you. And Professor Spitz?
Thank you. We're now celebrating 70 years of IF, and let's take the time machine, look 70 years later, because you were asking, and imagine we are sitting here in the year 2300. This is in 70 years. I think if we are asking for the impact in the year 2300, I don't think that designers will mainly only very few, but mainly in the majority, do the things they do right now. I think that design is not about production, which had been in the 20th century. I think that what is done in some of the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, that this is quite progressive. A lot of designers they are educated in the design system, but they are working in communities. They're working for companies, non-governmental organizations, because they know how to shape processes, having the end usage in mind and integrating all relevant aspects. So I think that this is what the design impact will be, or there will be no impact at all.
Thank you. And Professor Shi?
I think time is up. I just quickly summarize. Again, I think designers have to face the reality that we have sixth sense, right? Not only visual sense. So we have to curate. Designers need to know how to curate, how to speak out, and leading the ideology for the human society, and then the impact will come out.
Okay, and thank you three all for sharing the insight of the future of design, also on design education. So please give them big applause for the sharing, very insightful. And I look forward to having this conversation soon again to continue our, unfinished topics too. Okay, thank you.